Hi, this is God, Shamm God.
And I'm Jose.
And this is Talk to God. This is God, Shamm God, here with my boy Laron Profit and Jose. You know, just catching up with my boy Laron Profit. You know, for people that don't know, me and Laron go way back to 1995 battling in the high school and stuff like that. So it's just good to have you on the show.
Appreciate it, man.
Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Blessed to be here to talk to God.
Oh man, how you
Normally
been,
I don't get to see him when I talk to God, so it's a different feel when you actually get to see him. So
how you been, bro?
been good, man. Life is good.
I know you. You know, for people young kids that don't know you, you know, you just tell them a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So Shamm said I go back. I came out class of '95.
Best class
we
ever.
think is the best class ever. Mm-hmm. And we met then, and we kind of bonded and had a great relationship. And then I went on to University of Maryland when you went to Providence. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I went and played in the league for a couple of years with Washington, and played with the Lakers, played with Kobe Bean. And then I played overseas as well. So I've traveled around the world, been able to play. We played together against each other again in China.
Yes, sir.
Which was a great experience. Mm-hmm. And then I ended up playing in a few other places, and then I left. Decided to quit playing basketball, and then I went into coaching, and I coached with the Orlando Magic for 4 years, and then the last couple of years I've been working for different sporting brands, and now I'm looking to get back into the NBA and work with these young kids and helping them learn from my mistakes.
So like when we was coming up, you know, like I was just saying, we were saying off the air, you know, being from New York, being from like big cities, you know, half the people ain't even know Delaware was a state.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Until I met you and stuff, playing ball. How was it growing up in competition in Delaware in that era?
Yeah, so when I got there for high school, it was weird because, you know, the environment wasn't like a basketball environment. You know, it wasn't like New York where everybody's playing every day. It's super competitive. It was like a lot of days I'd be on the playground by myself, you know, trying to figure out how to get better. So I actually used to watch these Rick Pitino DVDs that he did. Wow. And you know who the star of the DVD was? Billy Donovan. Okay. And he'd be like doing drills and stuff. So I would watch not DVD back then, obviously the tape, the VHS. And then I would go out on the playground and I would try to emulate it. I'll go through the drills that he was taking his guys through. And then so that was kind of how I used to get better. And then I would go on a military base and play against the military guys who were older than me. They would beat me up and throw me around. So that forced me to be like tougher, and like to overcome that, I had to be more skilled than them, because I was like 160. You know what I'm saying? So they looked at it like, this little kid, who's he out here? And then fortunately for me, I was able to connect with a DCAU team. And when I got on that DCAU team and I started practicing them, I was like, whoa. Like they take this a whole lot more serious, you know, than what I've been used to. Okay. But what it did was it forced me to go back and work on my game that much harder, take it much more serious. But it also exposed me to other cities and other, you know, players. So now I'm going to Vegas for the big time tournament in Vegas. I'm going to Maryland for the Charlie Weber. I'm going to the AU National. So you're seeing everybody at one spot. I remember the first time I saw Steph.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, what is this? Who is this dude with the part in his head that's like jumping over people? He's 6'1", you know. Facts. So it was. Then I see Shamm. I'm like, yo, who is this dude that has like 5 hands on the ball? And like, it's crazy. So you get exposed to all of these different type of players. And so when you go back to your crib, you know you got to step it up.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how I was able to overcome it. And then once I got to Maryland, I got exposed to everybody.
Everything.
Yeah, so then it definitely changed, man. But when you're not in New York or Chicago or LA or Philly, you got to find a way to overcome the fact that you don't get to go to the playground and play against another top-notch dude every day. You know, so for me, it was like I just got to work.
So after you saw Shamm and Steph and you went back home, what did you say to yourself? What workout did you do and say, I want to be just as good or better than them?
First thing I said was, do I really want to do this? Like,
wow.
Like, you know, because when you see some of these guys, like the first time I saw KG,
yeah,
I'm like, yo, that's not even, you're not supposed to be able to do that. You know, like, what is, this dude's 7 feet, like handling the ball and shooting jumpers. But when I went back, the thing was, it was like, you know what? Instead of going to the park from like 7 to 8, I'm gonna have to go from 7 to 9.
Wow.
It's like I gotta double up, you know, and then so it just made me feel like I had to work hard. There was this quote I used to always say to myself, I think Bill Bradley said it. He said, every time that you're not working out, there's somebody else who is. Yeah, and when y'all play against each other, he's gonna beat you.
Yeah.
And I used to keep that in my mind like all the time. Like, yo, there's somebody else working harder than me, and when I see him, he's gonna beat me. So I gotta go the extra mile.
Okay.
Do you think, like, for young kids today, do you think they have more of an advantage coming from, since you came from a small state and stuff like that, do you think they have more of an advantage in the future term, not in the immediate term? You know what I'm saying? Because, like, you come from New York, Philly, Chicago. Most of the people feel like they already made it.
Yeah.
Before they get in there.
Yeah.
So some of us head could get big and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But when you come from a small state, what I'm seeing now, a lot of kids that come from small states, even like if you watch the NCAA, like Dame Lillard, Steph Curry, people that come from small schools, getting the NBA and do real good things. So
Right.
I just wonder, what was your take on just like coming from small states, coming from big cities?
One of the things that's interesting, I had this conversation the other day with Rich Paul, and we were talking about it. Like for you, like you were a legend in high school in New York City. Like in the biggest media capital in the world, like your name was known. Like Steph was like known. Like we just saw the documentary on Felipe.
Yeah.
Like you're known. And we were talking about Lenny Cook.
Yep.
It's like you already a star.
Yeah.
So you come already to like high school tournaments with an entourage. You come with this, you got so much stuff, baggage in a sense, that it can become a distraction. Whereas when you come from a smaller state or a smaller city, you got to fight to get that.
Yeah.
And you may not get it until you get to the league. Whereas if you're from New York or LA, you may have been going through that from like 9th grade. Like we knew about Steph since like 9th grade.
Yeah.
So he's been carrying that. So when he cries at the draft, I know why.
Exactly.
Because he was carrying the
That's
weight
what
of
I
a
tell
city.
people. That's what I tell
and a
people.
family on his back that a lot of people don't understand. So
Definitely.
the Marbury name in New York meant something.
Yeah.
So for me, I think not having that pressure and not having to carry the weight of a city, like what was Felipe going through at St. John's when you're on the cover of Sports Illustrated as a freshman before your
even
first
playing the game? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you could score 25 and people be like, he was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. But players like Felipe happen. Like he go to the Big East, but people understand he played. He went to St. John's 4 years, but he averaged 18 as a freshman.
And it was a disappointment.
Yeah, somebody averaged 18 as a freshman.
They're
right
gone.
Now,
They're a top 10 pick.
Top 10 pick.
Easy.
So it's like, that's why I always wonder like how somebody feel coming from a small state. So you go through all that. I met you, 95.
Yeah.
I said you was a great player in high school. In my eyes and Steph's eyes, you played against everybody. You was at the biggest tournament. What made you decide to go to Maryland when there's so many other schools closer to you?
Yeah, I always wanted to play in the ACC. Like that was always a thing for me. Like growing up, like it was like, man, that's the best conference. It was the ACC and the Big East. So Syracuse. Growing up, I love Syracuse, and I love like Carolina. Growing up, like those are the schools I always watched. But then when I got to the point to where I was at getting like Bill Guthridge is at my school or Syracuse is sending me letters, I wanted to play against them. I wanted to beat them. But I got like a funny Carolina story because I'm not going to completely act like I still didn't want to go. So Bill Guthridge comes to my high school my junior year, going into my senior year, and he says, look, we love you. But the way we do things at Carolina is we only have one more scholarship that we're going to give out to a wing. And so it's one other guy in front of you that if he accepts it, then we're not taking no more wings. So in my mind, I'm like, who could that be?
Yeah.
So I go to Nike camp that summer, and I'm trying in my mind to figure out, like, who is it that they talking about?
Yeah.
So later on, they hit me, they're like, yo, the kid signed, he's accepted the scholarship, so, we're not going to be recruiting you anymore. It was Vince Carter. Who was on my team at Nike camp.
Exactly.
So, it was just funny when you look back, like, yo, this whole time me and Vince, I've been waiting on him to make a decision, and then we ended up playing against each other in college and in the league, and now we have this like long history against each other, but I laugh at that, but I wanted to go to a school, like if I can't go there, then I want to play against you, and I want to be able to beat you, and I beat Carolina a lot. In college, and I was always motivated enough for that game.
Nah, definitely. How did it feel? And like I said, we from class of '95, and and just to see all the players that we're close to. They're just not rivalries; they're friends. So it's like when you see Vince Carter, Paul Pierce, KG, Steph, Chauncey Billups,
Antoine Jameson.
Antoine Jameson, Sharif Abdul-Rahim
Sharif,
now as president,
yes.
stuff like that. So when you watch them grow up, just like they watch us grow up, but you watch them grow up in other facets. Like, how do that make you feel knowing that you was a part of that whole era?
It's a prideful thing, man. It's so funny. Whenever any of us see each other, like the first thing we say is 95.
Yeah, it's funny because I always tell people, I'll be like, the best thing about the class of 95, everybody, even though we was rivalries, everybody was so close.
Yeah.
So it was like, even to this day, it's like a brother. Like, Chauncey is one of my best friends.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Things like that. Paul Pierce, all of them. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
it's-
Steph. So it wasn't like how, like, if you watch kids today, like when they're rivalries, they're like enemies. Like, don't want to speak, don't want to do that.
Nah, it's not like that. I remember Steph had a house in Maryland. Like his mom had moved to Maryland, and I used to go over there. He would come play in Maryland. When he got to the league, he would come up in the summertime, just like you came back.
Yeah.
He would come up in the summer and hoop, and then he would like come to the crib. Mom's just cooking. His sister Stephanie, they cooking. That was actually the first time that I ever saw Bassie.
Yeah.
Because he was at Bassie, he was at Steph's house, and he was like, "Yo, Prop, my little cousin is like the top 5th grader in the country." I'm like, "Yo, how do you judge a 5th grader? Like, come on, man, stop it." But he turned out to be right. But so it's always been like a love with us. Like we've always embraced each other because I think we've seen each other come up and seen our struggles and seen like the maturation of everybody. Like it's a prideful thing for me when I see those guys.
And then, like you said about Steph, having the whole weight on his shoulder. You coming from Delaware, you still had weight on your shoulder. So now, you go to Maryland, and you playing good. You play with great players like Stevie
Franchise, Warren Dixon.
Yeah, Warren Dixon, things like that. So when you go to the draft and you get drafted, how did you feel?
It was like a sense of relief, and then on one side it was a chip on my shoulder because I thought I should have went higher.
Yeah, definitely.
So it was like dual emotions. Like on one side I'm happy. It's like a lifelong thing you finally realize. But then there's that motivation again, like, yo, they don't think I'm as good as I think I am. And so I got to go back and work hard. I got to get back in the lab. I got to show them that I should have been drafted higher or whatever the case may be. And then you looking at guys like, they drafted him?
Yeah.
Like, yo, him? No, not him. So it becomes another thing. Like what Paul said. Yeah. Paul said he when he would work out, he would say the names of all the 9 teams that passed him.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like a competitive thing that you're like, yo, okay, I'm happy I'm here, but I feel like I still got something to prove. So that's kind of how I felt.
And then when you got drafted, what was the first thing you did when you got your first check?
Man, you know what's crazy? The first thing I did was I went straight to Bank of America and put it all in the bank. Like the first thing I did was I went to Bank of America. I'll never forget. It was in it was in Northwest DC. It was like literally 4 blocks from what was then like the Verizon Center. Yeah. I put it all in the bank, and I remember the dude when I came in, I handed him my check. He was like, "Do you want money back?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll take a couple dollars." But that was like the first thing I did, and I still have a Bank of America account.
Yeah.
Wow. But that was like the first thing I did because I read so many stories, and you hear so many stories about people just going crazy. I didn't want to be in that, so I was like, you know what? Every time I get paid, I want to pay myself first. So I would put money in the bank, you know what I'm saying?
You as a young kid, when did you fall in love with the game of basketball, and when did you know you were a special player that you can do this for a living?
Man, I fell in love with basketball 1987 when the Pistons played the Lakers in the finals, and Isaiah Thomas sprained his ankle.
Remember.
And I remember watching that game and watching him limp up and down the court, but he had the 25 in the third quarter. Mm-hmm. And I was just like mesmerized. Like, yo, this dude is phenomenal. And so the next 2 weeks on the playground, every time I shot, I would limp like I had a sprained ankle, trying to be like Isaiah Thomas, man. But that's when I fell in love with the game. Okay. When did I know I could be a special player? I think when I left Nike camp.
Yeah.
I think the year I left Nike camp, because it's like all of these names you've heard about. Back in the day, you used to read Street and Smith and see who was ranked what.
Dick Vitale
books. Bob Gibbons would have this list out, and like I remember the first day we got there, they were, you're trying to figure out who's who, and so when I left, I was like, you know what, I'm just as good as them, and I think that's when it started to hit me.
Okay.
So as you play, you go to the NBA. It's like you said, you put your money in the bank. What is the first gift you bought yourself, not nobody else. Just
Yo, crazy. I look back like, yo, I was so silly. I go straight to the car dealership like a couple weeks later because I didn't have a car, and I walk in. It was a Lexus dealership. I'm like, yo, I want a GS 300 because I heard Biggie talking about the GS. I want a GS 300, man. So I went and got a Lexus, and I got a car. That was the first thing I got, and then I think I got an apartment next. But that was like the first major thing I got was a car. But now I look back like, yo, because I always tell people, don't ever buy a brand new car.
Yeah, so
that's the dumbest investment you could ever do.
It's so funny because like when I got to the Wizards, you know, like you said, you don't know about like used cars, things like that. So I'm like, yeah, I need to get the Navigator.
You let us drive it too.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
The Navigators come out, so I'm like, it's like 2 in the whole state. I take my money, I'm like, yo, I need the Navigator. I go get the Navigator. I get the BBS rims on it.
Everything.
I get TVs.
Yes, trick it out.
And I'm like, man, I'm on a minimum contract.
I'm not even guaranteed to be here tomorrow.
I'm like, so I got a car that's almost 100,000. Then the first thing I do, because I know y'all, I shoot straight to Maryland.
Yes, and let us
test drive the whip. Nobody got no insurance on nobody. I'm just like, yo, just
we driving all over the city, no insurance, brand new truck. Cops is pulling us over.
Like it's just so crazy. But it was like I said, like it was like the class of '95. So we was like so close. So we didn't care about the repercussions.
Like you literally drove to our campus and let it. Like he literally was like, yo, here y'all got it. Like, go take the keys. I'm good.
Yeah, you think you made it.
You think you made it.
You don't never think the checks are going nowhere. I remember I'm sitting next to Jawan. Jawan locker's right here. My locker's right here. And Jawan, I get a check. My check is like 20,000. I'm like, man, 20,000. Doing it big. I look at Jawan Howard check. Jawan Howard check said 550,000. I say, yo, this is almost my whole salary.
So let me ask you and Mr. Profit here a question for Shamm and Profit. Why do you think that the class of '95 is so special and y'all keep that brotherhood and it's not done anymore like that anymore? Why do you think that?
I think LeBron's class has kind of done that.
Yeah.
I think they've kind of emulated that.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I know.
I think for me it was because we was competitive, but we wasn't jealous of each other.
Okay.
And I think that's the same thing like Prof just said with LeBron and them classes.
Do you think social media plays a part in that?
Yeah.
Because y'all didn't have that when y'all was.
Yeah, it plays a huge part. But like what Prof said, like if you look at LeBron and them, they're competitive and they want to go at each other, but they're still friends and they're not jealous of each other or things like that. Like it wasn't no hatred for Steph or KG. It was just all love. And maybe it's because we was from different places.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, maybe it's because we was from different places, and you know, most of the times in different positions and stuff. And you know, in life, everybody's journey was a little bit different. Like Steph went to NBA a year before me. You know, I went to the NBA a year or 2 years before Prof. So then
KG went before all of us.
KG went before all of us. You know, me and Chance came out together, stuff like that. So I just think it was just a genuine love for each other.
Do you think social media takes away from kids getting better?
You know, I think what social media has done is I think the kids have more access to become better. But I think the difference is we got better by playing. They get better with these like personal trainers and these 1-on-0 workouts where they have all of these skills, but they don't know how to apply them in a 5-on-5 environment.
What do you think is better for the kids to get better? Playing?
It's a combination.
A combination.
I think it's a combination. I just, like, parents come up to me all the time, like, yeah, my kid is 7, he's got a personal trainer. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but he needs to learn how to play with 9 other people on the floor.
Yeah, because you gotta love it.
Yeah.
Like without you playing against a trainer, I mean, you doing the trainer at a young age, not like our age though. I mean, college, that's different, but at a young age, it's like, you gotta let them get that love first. And like Prof said, you gotta let them get they ball taken from them or they ball thrown over the fence so they could be ultra competitive. If you're doing just workouts one-on-one, it's not really a competitive thing.
And the thing that the workouts can't simulate is your ability to think the game on the fly. Like, you only get that from playing 5-on-5 when it's 9 other people. Like, you can't simulate that 1-on-0 with a trainer. You know, you can become a better shooter. you can become a better ball handler to a degree. But when you don't have those 9 other people out, you don't know how to improvise on a run.
I always sit here and imagine the era has changed so much from '95 when you played in the NBA, or how would you think you would compete today? With no hand checking. I would imagine. I would love to see Shamm playing in today's era.
Me too.
When you can't
Especially
hand
all the money they
check.
handed
All
out.
the money they handed out.
Yeah, I mean,
You think you have a big advantage playing right now?
Yeah, but I think more so than like the hand checking is big. I think the reason why we would have more of an advantage, I think both of our games were more suited to like isolation one-on-one.
Yeah.
And when we came in the league, I know for Shamm, it was like, yo, get the ball inside the web, get the ball inside of Juwan. You know, for me, it was like Juwan was playing, so you're gonna get the ball. You had 2 big guys on the floor all the time. Whereas now you may have a game where the biggest dude on the floor is 6'7".
Oh no.
And if you can get one-on-one and get by him, you to the rim.
Yes.
Whereas with us, we got like legit 7-footers, we got shot blockers, the floor wasn't in space. So I think for us both, especially for him, the floor would be so much more open. It'd be easier. But I think it's hard to say, I hear people say all the time, like, oh, it was harder than. I just think it's different.
Okay.
And if you're a great player, you'll figure it out.
You'll figure it
But
out.
I think for a certain skill set, I think it is a lot easier for a guy now who can handle the ball to get to the rim because it's so many small guys on the floor
Yeah.
now.
And I think it's just different because there's no bad shots now.
Oh my gosh.
Like when me and Prof was growing up, it was like, if you wasn't a shooter, hey, don't shoot the ball.
Yeah.
Now it's like, yo, if you open, shoot the ball.
Let it fly.
Hey, don't worry about it, good shot, because, you got analytics and things like that. And, while we here on here, I like to thank Prof personally, because between him and Royal Ivy, when I was out the NBA, in China and trying to figure out the next step, I used to talk to them every day because Prof was with Orlando Magic, Royal Ivy was with OKC, and they got me more. Like training people I always could do, but I wasn't really like into like player development and stuff like that, or even thought it was like a good thing, like a big thing. And then, I used to talk to Prof all the time. We used to always, this is the only time me and him is peaceful.
Talking about Chris Dunn and Big
We used to go back and forth every day. Never
We
agree.
argue every day about everything.
Never agreeing on nothing, but then like talk to Prof at night and stuff about Victor Oladipo, you know what I'm saying, and talk to Royal Ivory, so I personally thank them for my growth in the development. And when you was at, Orlando Magics and you had all the young guys, what was the most important thing for you to get through to young rookies and stuff like that?
Man, the number one thing I try to tell these guys, and I wish I would have known it, is don't focus on what you don't do well. Your strengths are what got you here. Never, ever forget what your strengths are.
Danny Green said that yesterday.
I'm telling you, because what the league does is they try to put you in this position to where you're so focused on, oh, if you get better at this, you'll be around or you'll get paid if you get better. But what it does is it takes away from what you do well. So what I would tell guys is whatever your strength is, never lose that. You can work on your weaknesses as you grow and as you evolve and as you mature, but they don't pay you for what you can't do.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? They pay you because you have a certain skill set that makes you unique and makes you valuable. Then you get your contract. Now you can have more freedom. You can expand your game, and the coach gives you more leeway. I'm sure he goes through that in Dallas. Coaches are only going to give you leeway based on what your strengths are. Yeah. You start doing stuff that they don't think you're good at,
out of there.
Yeah, so I think that's the one thing I tell the young guys. I told them in Orlando. I told Mo Harkless, be the best defender on the floor. Yeah. He goes to Portland, he starts on a playoff team because he learned if I defend, I'm gonna be out here. I told Vic, you don't gotta be the best ball handler. You don't gotta be Kyrie. You're strong and explosive. Just drive by people and use your strength and explosiveness to finish. So for me, it's about teaching guys to use your strengths and don't get enamored. That's a life lesson, though.
Yeah.
Don't get enamored by what people say you don't do well, because no matter how high you go, it's always somebody be like, well, you're not that good at that. That's okay.
Definitely.
So that's kind of what I use as my template.
And I think the class of '95 was so good and why we're so close, because I think mostly everybody in the class of '95 is almost teachers. Like everybody in the class of '95 is probably working in the NBA at some capacity, helping people grow, helping young players grow, giving back, and things like that. When did you first get that love from going from player, because me and you was on the grind. We was in China, we was in other countries. So when did you get that love where you saying, you know what, now I'm going to go back, I'm going to coach and just give back to the
Man, you
kids
know,
now?
like my last couple of years playing, when I was living in Maryland at the time, right outside of DC.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I would work out, all the young guys would be like, "Yo, what time you working out? I want to come work out with you."
Mm-hmm.
So when they would come, then you see little things that they doing wrong, or things that you like, "Yo, don't do that, do it like this." And then I just found like I like that. I enjoyed seeing them, and then when they do it right, you be like excited. Like,
You see progress.
Yeah, when
You
you
feel
see
like you're-
progress,
yeah.
you feel excited for them. So
Understand.
that kind of planted the seed in my mind, like, yo, I want to help these kids. I like when they get better. I like when, because a lot of times, like you spoke of, they're playing in environments where they're not really being taught the game. They're not
Exactly.
really being challenged. And, you know, I don't have a problem with AAU, but I do think one of the downsides of AAU is the focus is so much on playing games that it's not on instruction and teaching.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think when I started to do that with the kids around my neighborhood, it really planted that seed. Like, yo, I like this. You know, I like teaching these young kids and showing them stuff about the game that I've learned along the way.
So then when after, Orlando Magic, then you went into the sneaker world.
Yeah, I went into the sneaker world.
Brandon,
Yeah.
Brand Jordan,
Yeah.
things like that. What's different about dealing with people from a brand point
Yeah.
than from a coaching point and teaching point?
It's a
Dealing
good,
with an athlete.
that's a good question, man. I think from a brand perspective, as opposed to like the coaching aspect, I think, all of these guys think they are stylish. No, they do. Like, they all think they have like impeccable swag or style or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that might be cool in your free time, but we're not paying you to do that. We paying you to wear these, or we paying you to wear this.
Yeah.
And so you got to talk them off the ledge, because everybody, we joke about this all the time.
Yeah,
we talk
definitely,
like,
definitely.
it's like weird is in.
Okay.
And it's like the weirder you get, it's like, yo, that's swag. That's my swag. And I'm like, that's cool, but that's not what the check says. At the bottom of it, we need you to wear this.
Yeah.
So I think learning to collaborate with people is very similar, but I think just kind of giving guys an understanding of, listen, in the business world, things are driven by numbers in terms of who appeals to a certain audience. Because guys will come up to you and be like, yeah, why I didn't get that ad campaign, or why I didn't get that ad campaign. And I would say to them, hey, let's open up your social media. How many followers you got? 200,000? Okay, well, Travis Scott got 10 million.
Okay.
So this is a numbers-driven thing. This isn't about whether or not you're good at your sport. In this arena, it's about who can appeal to the kids, who can appeal to consumers, who's going to drive numbers in terms of sales. And if you can't do that, then that campaign is not going to be for you. And so trying to teach guys to understand how the business works from an economic standpoint was like the biggest challenge.
Do you think it matters, like, from a parent standpoint, a parent that's probably listening to this, like, oh, if a kid get tattoos, or a kid get braids, or kids with nothing, like, do you think it matters, like, either way, or you think it matters by just how authentic the kid is and, stuff, and come across to the people?
I think authenticity is the number one thing that you should want for all your kids. I think being authentic, and I think the greatest example of that from a marketing standpoint is Bubba Chuck.
Yep.
I think Chuck was always true to who he was. Whether you liked it or didn't like it, he was always true to who he was. So Reebok at the time did an excellent job of building a campaign around who he was.
Let's talk about Allen Iverson for people that
Allen Iverson.
that's a friendship that
That's class of '94.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to give him too much, but I think being authentic and being true to who you are, and I think people at the end of the day always recognize that. And they may not like it, but I think part of being a great salesman is you want people to have a strong reaction, whether it's positive or negative. And the person that we look to that's showing that is Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
They might dislike you, but they're tuning in. And so I think that's authenticity is probably the biggest thing to me in terms of when you're talking about athletes promoting brands.
So when we used to be in China, so me and this guy used to be in China, right? Every night, anytime I came to his city, he came to my city, the biggest thing in China was to do is go get foot massages.
Fifth floor.
Fifth floor. So we used to go find the best foot massage place and go get a foot massage.
And debate.
We used to debate about Biggie, Tupac, Nas, every single day. And I'm like, nah, Tupac is this. He's like, nah, Big Jay
bro.
is this.
Big, bro.
And I'm like, nah, you don't know because you're from Delaware and things like that. I'm from
He tries
the
to
city.
discredit me based on location. Like I can't listen to music wherever I am.
Yeah,
I always said Pac was the most influential rapper that we've
Who you
ever
like?
seen, and Big is the best rapper. He's
He
a
know.
Pac fan to the like.
know.
He will
To the death.
he will die on that ledge.
Oh, to the
He will
death.
die. On
So
that ledge.
Tupac over Biggie?
Yeah, like
And
that
you?
doesn't even. Come on, Big. Like, come on. What are we talking about? What are we talking about?
And now it's Hove over everybody.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
Yeah, it's now it's Hove over everybody.
That's hands down.
Yeah.
Hov got some competition right now, though.
Oh man,
There's some people in
Here
that.
you go.
It's some
See,
people.
that's
It's some
the
people
Delaware
chasing
mindset.
him down, though.
Nah, they ain't chasing him down.
I'm just saying, Kendrick and Drake is trying to chase Hov down.
He always goes somewhere else.
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying.
We got to stay.
Okay.
Right, stay-
Gotta stay rock. Gotta stay rock.
I forgot where I am. I forgot where I am.
Stay
Jay,
firm,
Jay,
rock.
man. Jay the guy, man. But
So now, you know, in your latter years now, you know, you getting back into coaching
Yeah.
and stuff like that. What do you see yourself like in the next 2 years, and what do you want to do, and why do you want to do it?
I think eventually for me, Shamm, man, I would love to be a GM. I would love the idea of putting together a team, personalities and talents, and forming a culture. That's something that's always appealed to me. I've always, like Jerry West was always somebody that I admired, especially after what he put off this summer with Kawhi. But I've always been intrigued by the idea of how you put the pieces together to form a championship caliber team and build a culture. So I think for me, that's something that I would love to do in my future is become a GM and put together pieces and build a culture and see if I could put together something that's sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could definitely do it because, you know, you're knowledgeable about basketball. You got good relationships.
First time he's ever said that. I want that
Yeah,
that copy, bro.
you know.
Like, first time he's ever said that.
Yeah, y'all might have to edit that part. I'm not saying he's knowledgeable about basketball.
First time he's ever said that. I just need that copy, period.
But nah, he knowledgeable about basketball. You know, you never overthink. You never get too high, never get too low. Even in our conversations, we debate all the time. You know, and things like that. So I think that's definitely in your future. You know, right now, you know, what you just mentioned about Jerry West and them. What do you think about the upcoming season, especially in the West?
I'm as excited for this season as I've been in a long time because I think this is the first season in a long time where we don't know who's
Who's gonna win it? Yeah.
Like, we don't have a for sure, like, oh, Golden State's going to win it. Or, man, it's Miami. I think this is the first time in a long time going into the season. It's really like, I don't know who's going to come out of the West. I don't know who's going to come out of the East. It could be 3 teams in the West that I'll have a chance. It could be 3 teams in the East. And so that's exciting to have a season where it's really some intrigue and some drama. And I think this year, more than most, the regular season will matter.
Yeah.
I think because of the talent and how close they are in talent, I think maybe having that home court advantage will play a difference. And so I think for us as fans and consumers, man, I'm excited about that because I think Kawhi Leonard did us all a favor. I think he did us all a favor by making it competitive and making it so that now every team at the top has like 2 legit stars.
No, it's gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be crazy.
In the next, go ahead, Jose.
What rookie are you most excited to see play this
John
year?
Morant by far.
John Morant.
John Morant by far. I just think.
Everybody else.
Yeah,
Everybody says John Morant.
I watched him 2 times, like full games, and his ability to like make people better and see the floor and the passes he was making, I was like, man, I can't wait to see this dude in the league. Like with the spacing and the shooting and you know, college, everybody sits in the paint. It's like 9 people in the paint. You can't even get to the rim, man. It's like a football. You gotta go off tackle.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see him.
And his dad did what you think kids should do. He trained them and used to bring kids in his backyard
Word up.
and cook out, and they used to play back there.
Yeah, his dad played with Ray Allen in high school.
Yeah, he played with Ray Allen
I
in
think
high
the other
school.
thing that helped Ja, he was able to grow in obscurity.
Yeah.
He didn't have all the bright lights
Yes,
and everybody
yes.
watching
Nobody
his
knew
every
about him.
move. You were able to grow and get better,
Yeah.
which is kind of, when we first came out, like that's what college was.
Yeah.
Like you think about it now, like Chris Jackson stayed in college for 2 years. That would never
happen now. He averaged 30.
Shaq stayed in school for 3
years.
years.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So you got a chance to grow, you got a chance to develop, you got a chance to see your game and mature. Whereas now, you know, a kid signs his letter of intent, you know, he'll be there 5 months.
Yeah.
You know, so I think Ja, having stayed at school for 3 years, having that father figure behind him to help guide him, I'm excited. And I think the other thing is that Memphis is in a situation where they're going to let him be himself.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm super excited to see him.
So in the next couple of years, you know, they're gonna make a rule for kids to go out of high school. again.
Yeah.
So do you think it's gonna help basketball or hurt basketball, or what is your opinion on it based on, we came from the era where it first started.
Yeah, KG started
Yeah,
it.
KG started, and then it went back to the old way. So what
Yeah.
do you think now?
I think there's two ways to look at it. I think, first of all, kids should always have the right to go straight to the league. Like, if you can go to war, then you should be able to go play in the NBA. Like, that's just common sense to me, right?
Yeah.
This is America. You can make a living. You go to college to get a job. So if the job is available after you leave high school, like, why can't you take the job, right? Now, I think the second part is, I think a lot of times where the criticism comes in is like, oh, these kids aren't ready, But listen, if it's your job to evaluate talent and develop it, it's not the kid's fault that he had an opportunity and he took it. It's on the teams to draft the right kids and develop them the right way. You can't complain that a guy took a job and then like, oh, he turned out to be not that good.
Yeah.
Like, well, you offered him the job. Who's going to say no to a $5 million job?
Exactly.
So I think teams now have to be a lot more strategic and a lot more intelligent about who they pick and how they develop them and put these kids in situations that they can succeed. Because this whole idea that, oh, it's bad for basketball, over the last 10 years, the top players in the league have all been guys who came out of high school.
Yeah, sure.
LeBron, Dwight Howard, Tracy McGrady, Kobe Bryant. So I think there's a misnomer or information out there that is bad for the game. I just think it puts pressure on teams to be smart about who you take.
And all those nights that we used to be in China, I used to come to Maryland and stuff like that. And like I said, we used to always argue about
everything.
Pac, Jay-Z, and Nas and stuff like that. So being from that era, one, could you ever imagine seeing how Jay transformed now? And then two, how do you feel to see his transformation?
Yeah, man, when I was listening to Reasonable Doubt, I definitely didn't envision that he would be here. I remember Jay saying he was never going to the Grammys.
Yeah.
And now he shows up in a tuxedo. Married with a beautiful family. And I think it's a great thing for us to see. You can evolve and you can grow. But did I ever picture that he would be at this point? No. And part of what makes me really sad about it is I kind of imagine, like, where would Big and Pac be?
I always think about that, man.
If Jay was able to go this route and grow and mature, where would those two be?
And you know what a lot of people forget? Pac was a hell of an actor.
He was probably a better actor than rapper.
He was a hell of an actor.
Seriously, he was.
We're not gonna do that.
He was
a hell of an actor, man.
He hates to admit that, though. Pac was gonna get an Oscar before he got a Grammy, bro.
We're not gonna do that. Yo, viewers, don't listen to this guy. We're not gonna do that right now.
Hey, I'm just telling you the truth, man. But it's great to see, man. Jay's evolved and grow, and that's kind of on another tangent. That's why what happened to Nipsey is so disheartening, because Nipsey was on a path to do what Jay was doing and probably faster.
Yep.
And the stuff that he was doing, and to see his life taken away when he was doing so many positive things, it's really disheartening. But I think what Jay has done, you would hope that these other young rappers would take note of that and recognize it.
Open their eyes.
Yeah, it's a business that you can be good at.
I agree.
And you don't have to sell this image of being rich when you're really not. And so, I think it's amazing. I love seeing it, man.
Yeah, I think it's, I know it's good because it helps even players like us, like people coming up, just to know that we can transform.
Yeah, it's
and we could be way more than what we are in the presence. You know what I'm saying? It's like you said, you want to be a GM. It's no different from going from, a basketball player to a GM, like rap to what Jay is doing now. So
I play for the team I own.
Yeah, exactly.
Put it out there. That's what Jay did. He put a lot of things Jay said. He said it before he actually did it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
His music.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with that being said, I want to thank you for stopping by, my brother. I wish you the best.
I appreciate you. Good luck in the
Thank
future.
y'all for having
you
me.
as a GM.
I just want to say I'm so proud of you, man, and just watching you grow and evolve.
Watch him blush.
Nah, I just am, because we were having conversations when he was at Providence, and he was really not at a great place. Like he was really
there with him.
trying to figure out, which direction to go in.
I was there with him.
And to see everything come forth. One of the most amazing things, we talk about this all the time, for him to still be as relevant as he is.
Grounded, man. Stay level, man.
20 plus years later.
It's funny because we, me and you had that talk. What people don't understand is like, when I went to Providence to finish my degree, you know, watching guys like Laron Profit, stuff like that, talking to my brother every day and always seeing me as Shamm God, not less as, you know what I'm saying? And when people don't understand, that's a lot when you feel like you was here at one point and then you drop, and then for your peers to still see you as that person, you know what I'm saying? So people don't know, like when I went to Providence, it was like, I went there, only thing I had in the bank was savings.
But what people don't realize about you, God, and this is off the record and all that, you're a good dude, man.
So, but
And
it's
you
just,
always stay level, and that's
but
important.
they don't understand is like, when I went to Providence, you know, I didn't have no job, you know, and then when I went to Providence, I couldn't get paid because I was finishing my degree. The only thing they could pay for was my scholarship. So when I first went up there, you know, you got to think how I'm thinking. My point guard with me in the backcourt was Corey Wright. Corey Wright do construction. He do real estate and he do corrections. Now, I'm the one that went to the NBA. He didn't go to the NBA. Now I'm coming back. I have nothing but just trying to get an education. You know what I'm saying? I got kids, you know, doing stuff like that. When I first got to Providence, like I slept on his floor. I slept on his floor for like 3 months. Like LeBron could attest to it. Like I slept on his floor.
I remember the
and he
conversations.
never looked at me as, Shamm gonna struggle.
That's what brothers do for each other, man.
So he was like, nah, you just gotta get back in the mix. Everything will work out. Everything will work out. And there was times I used to talk to Prof, like, man, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's next. And then I'm like, well, I'm just go to Providence. Hopefully things work out. I ain't have no idea. I ain't speak to coach, speak to none. And then like what Prof said, how he fell in love with it. When I got up there, I used to work out. So I used to work all the guys out with me. And then the AD, you know, Bob Driscoll, you know, God bless him, he always said, it's like, man, you should help the team. You know, you should just help the players. I'm like, all right. And then, you know, I thank God for Ed Cooley every day because he gave me a chance. He put me on the bench. And like for 3 months straight, I was on the air mattress. And he put me on the bench, and everybody, people like Prof, other people like, man, you just got to get on camera. Just got to get on TV, let people see what you're doing. And then that's why I said I'm so spiritual when it comes to God, because I'm like, I know he was there for me every step of the way, because through all that, I didn't know nothing. I didn't know what was next.
No next steps.
No next step. And I used to talk to him every night
We
about
used to
it.
talk about
no
it.
next step. And I'm like, man, only thing I wish is I'd be in the NBA in like 4 years or something, just doing player development. Because I always spoke to him about player development. And then, you know, you get players like Chris Dunn, Bryce Cotton. Then you start working out other players and things like that. Prof telling people how I work people out. Other people offer me, ask me to work them out. And then next thing I know, Chris Dunn go top 5, and then the NBA is calling like, oh man, you did this with this player, this. But still, in my wildest dream, I would never think it would turn into this. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. What's the first thing he said when he sat down? Class of '95.
Yeah.
Brothers.
And
that's what brothers do for you. That says a lot about you, man.
I mean,
that says a lot about
I knew
you, man.
He just had to get in a position where people could see where he was. Like, it's so much about visibility. Like, it's so much about people just seeing you and be like, oh, shoot, what you? But I'm always amazed.
But where we come from, man, I know him since he was 12, 13 years old. And I'm going to say that all the time. I used to be going to work, and he used to be out there 5 in the morning.
Dribbling
the ball.
Or drinking. Which one? You about to say drinking?
Nah, dribbling. nah.
He was like, oh, yeah, dribbling.
and at first I used to say, this kid is crazy.
Crazy, B.
And one day it was snowing, and he's shoveling the snow because he wanted to get his routine on. That's why he's known as one of the best ball handlers ever. He worked.
I can't say it enough to be relevant. There are guys from our class who had longer NBA careers that he is more relevant than they are. And I just think it's a testament to him staying positive, like you said, spiritual. And I think he was doing it at Providence for the love.
Yeah, he was.
And when you do it for the love, I think things happen for you that work out in your favor. So I'm very proud of you, man. This is a beautiful thing.
My brother, thank you for coming through, man. And bless you, man.
Yes,
and I'll see you as a GM one day.
Man, that would be beautiful. Because then I could hire you to be the head coach and we'd be good, right?
Let's go.
Good luck in the future, man.
Thank you again for stopping by.